Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because honestly, what we're looking at today is incredibly important. We are breaking down two literally make-or-break roles in the upcoming 2026 Beacon Emergency Communications exercise. See, when traditional grids just completely collapse, the folks filling these two specific positions become our primary lifelines for coordinating any kind of disaster response. We're going to clarify exactly who does what so you are perfectly prepared.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for navigating this high-stakes scenario. We'll kick things off with the 2026 Beacon scenario, then look at the incident communications organizational structure. After that, we'll dive deep into our two spotlight roles, the auxiliary communications manager and the communications technician. And finally, we'll wrap up with the exercise application and goals.
All right, part one, the 2026 Beacon scenario.
So let's establish exactly what we're walking into on Thursday, April 30th, 2026. And just a quick reminder, this is a completely functional no-discussion exercise. You play exactly where you work using only the tools you realistically have. Okay, picture this. It's 0634 in the morning Pacific Daylight Time. Out of nowhere, the USGS pushes out a terrifying shake alert, magnitude 8.8 earthquake along the San Andreas Fault. Severe shaking is causing widespread devastation across coastal California. Buildings are down. Infrastructure is completely wrecked.
And the immediate result of all that shaking? A catastrophic blackout. We're talking no internet, no cell service, no text messaging, no landlines. Basically, your smartphone is just an expensive glass brick at this point. As they say, in a disaster of this scale, even the backup plans need backup plans. And for the purposes of this exercise, there are absolutely no do-overs. Local, state, federal, and auxiliary responders have this unbelievably urgent mission to build a common operating picture using strictly alternative communication systems.
Moving right along to Section 2, let's look at the incident communications organizational structure. Now, when you're hit with a chaos of an 8.8 magnitude quake, you literally cannot rely on improvised heroics. You need structured leadership. That's the only way to reestablish a lifeline. Now, what's really interesting about this slide, if you look directly at the Logistics Service Branch org chart, is right there under the Communications Leader, or COMLEL. Notice the chain of command here. Up near the top, we have the Communications Technician, or COMT, and then further down, the Auxiliary Communications Manager, the ACM. They both report up to the COMLEL, but as you're about to see, they operate in completely different lanes.
Which brings us to Section 3.
Let's focus on the Auxiliary Communications Manager, or ACM.
Let's shift our focus entirely to the first of our two critical profiles because this role has actually seen some vital updates recently. The Auxiliary Communications Manager is formally defined as a credentialed volunteer. So often we're talking about a highly skilled, licensed amateur radio operator whose main job is managing backup alternative communications when the traditional systems inevitably go down. And using the ACM title is a really crucial shift from older, more generalized terms like RADO. It specifically reflects how we integrate highly trained auxiliary volunteers who are bringing outside systems like ham radio, WinLink, and GMRS right into the formal incident command system.
So what exactly is this volunteer manager responsible for? Well, if we break down their specific duties, the ACM is fully dedicated to coordinating the deployment of amateur radio resources, overseeing the physical setup of auxiliary repeaters, and providing tech support specifically for the folks using those auxiliary networks. Now, to do this officially within the ICS structure, you can't just walk in off the street. You need specific credentials. We're talking a GMRS or amateur radio license, plus your foundational FEMA incident command training, specifically the IS 100, 200, 700, and 800 courses. And actually, the specialized AUX-COM course is highly recommended too, just to make sure everything meshes seamlessly with government agencies.
Okay, Section 4. Let's shift gears to the Communications Technician, or COMT.
To really get the full picture here, we have to look at the ACM's counterpart. While the ACM is pulling in outside volunteer backup systems, the Communications Technician, the COMT, is focused entirely inward. This role is a technical support specialist responsible for installing, maintaining, and troubleshooting the primary, officially agency-owned communication equipment. So contrast that with the ACM. The COMT is typically a paid or formally assigned public safety role, firmly rooted right inside the official internal infrastructure of the responding government body.
And this brilliantly illustrates the dividing line between these two roles. If we dive into the comms duties, they are all about installing and maintaining that primary equipment, establishing comms across multiple official platforms, and providing operational and logistical support. Their required credentials mirror that internal focus perfectly too.
They need the standard ICS training, sure, but they heavily rely on agency-specific comms operations training and formal technical support experience. They're the experts working on the secure internal agency channels, like those P25 radio networks.
So, just to summarize the core dichotomy of our explainer today, the CommT handles the primary agency-owned physical infrastructure. If it's a secure police or fire channel, the CommT is the one keeping it running. On the flip side, the ACM steps in to manage the volunteer backup networks. When those primary grids fail or are just totally overwhelmed by an 8.8 magnitude quake, the ACM is the one deploying ham and WinLink to make sure the message still gets through. So they're operating in parallel, but in distinctly different lanes.
And finally, Section 5, Exercise Application and Goals.
Now that we clearly understand who does what, let's look at how these distinct roles actually collaborate during the 8-hour beacon simulation. The exercise has 4 massive objectives. First, to test communications systems functionality, basically seeing if these alternative systems actually work and hit their targets. Second, to assess coordination in an internet blackout, evaluating how well partners can handle resource requests. Third, to practice emergency protocols and procedures. And fourth, to promote interagency collaboration. And here's the thing, neither the ACM nor the CommT can pull this off alone. It requires the CommT keeping whatever primary agency infrastructure survived alive, while the ACM rapidly deploys that auxiliary safety net to bridge the gaps. They are literally the boots on the ground that will make or break these objectives.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for everyone participating. Are you ready to test your systems, challenge your baseline assumptions about what will actually work in a disaster, and strengthen California's emergency resilience on April 30th, 2026? Knowing your specific role, whether you're the agency-focused CommT or the volunteer-driven ACM, is absolutely the first step to success. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay focused and get ready for the drill.